Hello everyone, I'm coming to you today with my very first video. We're building a mid-range gaming PC based on the new Intel platform, the Z170 with a Skylake processor. Our goal here is to make a mini ITX machine with a small portable case. For this project, I'm going to use an old graphic card for two reasons. First, it's a capable graphic card for today's games. And secondly, the new Pascal graphic cards from NVidia is releasing soon and I'm planning to get one. This is April 2016 mid-range gaming build. Let's get started. Before we begin, here's a visual list of what we're going to use for this build. The main highlight of this build is the Intel i5-6500 processor. I'm going to use an Asus motherboard, the Maximus 8 Impact, which is considered a high-end mini ITX motherboard. Now for a mid-range build, I'd recommend something cheaper and capable, like the Asus Z170i Pro Gaming. Before we begin, ground yourself by either touching the metal part of your computer case, or just go outside and touch the exterior of your car. First, start by pulling out the motherboard and put it over the cardboard box. Next, pull out the CPU and get ready for the next step. Now pop in the CPU by releasing the CPU lever. Remove the socket plastic cover. It's a black plastic covering the CPU socket. Then align the CPU triangle with the triangle on the socket, gently lowering it in place, but make sure you've installed the CPU correctly to avoid any damage. Pull the lever down to lock it in. Now install the CPU cooler that comes with the processor. Lock down all 4 fastener caps by pressing each one down. Connect the fan's 4-pin header with the motherboard. Next we're going to install our memory. Release the notch of the RAM slot by pressing it down. Make sure you align the memory stick with the slot. Then firmly press the memory stick into place until it clicks. Apply an even pressure at both sides. I prefer connecting the SATA cable first before installing the motherboard into the case. Now let's move on by getting the case ready. Take off both side panels to start working on the case. Now we mount the I/O backplate by popping it in. Lower the motherboard and start screwing it down. Screw holes will help you mount the motherboard correctly. Pay closer attention to the I/O shield. It will guide you and help you with the motherboard alignment. Next step is installing the power supply unit. Unscrew the back piece. Insert the power supply unit inside the case and screw it in. Before we start routing the power cables, let's install the rest of the components. Mount the hard disk in the bay, slide it in, and snap it into place. For the next slot, we're mounting the SSD. It's too small for the bay, so we're using screws. Then, slide the bay in. So now let's begin routing all the wires, starting with the back fan cable. Connect all front panel connectors and plug into the motherboard. All plugs are already marked on the motherboard. Then we connect the USB cable. And then the audio connector. Now let's turn the case around to continue with the rest of the connection. We've installed 2 SATA cables to the motherboard previously. Now let's connect both of them to the SSD and the hard disk. Let's connect the power cables to both of them as well. Let's continue on by installing the 24-pin motherboard power and the 8-pin CPU power cables.